Welcome, my friends, to the showdown between the Vampire Coast, who shall be led by Celestra atop her mighty Crab, and the Beastmen, who are going to be led by Morkar the Shadowgave, aka Captain Dreadlocks. So on that note, guys, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So as far as the build goes, we're going to be going for a Vampire Coast Death Star. So normally against Beastmen and most factions in general, my preferred playstyle with the Vampire Coast is to go very wide, have a gun line, a bunch of scurvy dogs, a lot of harass, and just kind of play that wide, kind of dwarvish style of play. But in this matchup, I wanted to try something a little bit different than my normal build, and here we're going to be going with Celestra. So on the Crab and in Death Star builds, against factions that don't have heavy armor-piercing powder, for example. So Beastmen have Ungor Raiders, which actually, through sheer weight of volume, weight of dice, if you're playing 40k, for example, can wear her down, but for the most part, she's going to be very tanky. But she does have the Fog of the Damned, which I think is pretty good in these very pit fight style builds where you're going to have a blob and just be kind of surrounded, for example. So it lowers leadership by 26 and leadership by 8 and melee attack by 26. So now if you stack that with the Song of Enthrallment, that's going to be lowering melee attack by a substantial amount for a long period of time. So this is 22 seconds and Fog of the Damned lasts for 35 seconds. That's pretty big for sure. The radius is decent. It's not like massive, but it's still enough to get most things that are surrounding her. On top of that, we have a front line of Chaff, Tide of Skill, 2 pole arms to help with Minotaurs or pigs or things like that. Now 2 groups of Depth Guard. These guys are going to be quite good against Beastmen Chaff infantry. They can kill Ungors and Goreherds very easily. And they're also fairly heavily armored. Now what a lot of Beastmen players do if they've been using their foul witchcraft and magic. I've been seeing, had this happen to me. I can't remember who I was playing the other day. Maybe it was King of the Dead or someone. But anyways, they're using the Wildcaster. So they're using the Vile Tide and the Brace Scream to kind of wear them down, which is quite good. So it seems like that's kind of a trendy thing right now to do. But 2 Depth Guard, we do also have the Lamprey's Revenge, again, a very tanky build, and also the Morngul Haunter. The Haunter causes terror. He's got a great bonus for his infantry. He slows things nearby. I feel like he's a pretty decent choice here. So it's a very narrow build for sure. It has some weaknesses in that, I can get surrounded and a lot of magic can kill my blobbed up troops, but it's also going to be relatively tanky with Celestra and the Crab. So again, out of my purview, but should be pretty good, I think. We do have 2 crabs up in the skies, not crabs, but flying crabs. Oh my god, imagine if the Vampire Coast... they could make that... you could have tiny little sea-dwelling crabs, right? And have them be carried by bats if you really wanted to have flying crabs. But yeah, it's not going to happen. So 2 fell bats here. And for my opponent's army, he's got a bunch of spears in the front line. So obviously they're going to be taking a beating for the Beastmen gods. It should be fun for those guys. And then the secondary line is going to be Ungor Raiders, who's followed up by a reserve line of Goreherds. Now Beastmen are probably one of the best factions at killing Chaff infantry. Goreherds, for the cost, just kill Chaff so quick. So these guys with their decent combat stats and good charge bonus of 24, which by infantry standards is quite high, are going to be able to kill my front line quickly. So it's certainly scary. He has Razor Goreherds. In the back, he's got Korok's Manrippers and Bestigors to deal with the Depth Guard. So very nice build here. It's very much I don't know if I would call it a swarm, but it's wide for the most part, although it's being played in a narrow fashion, but it has a lot of punch. Let's get the show on the road, guys, and see how this goes. So firstly, I'm going to be advancing up the hill. Fellbats are going to be scouting in. He obviously was in the forest because typically Vampire Coast, in the Beastmen matchup, though, I guess it is somewhat common to see Death Stars. His build is pretty good against a monster build. He has a lot of missile pressure. He has Korok's Manrippers and a couple other troops like that. Granted, there's no Minotaurs or Gorbles or things like that, so it's not going to have a ton of heavy punch, but it's certainly one of those builds that over the course of a long fight is going to try and wear you down. So the Ungor Spears in the front, yeah, they're going to take a huge beating on the initial approach. They're just going to be fighting Depth Guard and decent infantry. They'll probably rout instantly, but from there, the Goreherds, who are going to be unscathed at that point, are going to countercharge, get that nice charge here, and they're in a decent little position. So the Fellbats, I'm just going to be positioning them on either side and just attacking the Raiders as the battle does start here. So once I get a little bit closer and the missiles actually become a threat, I'll go after the Raiders. So nice little Cygor summon here, which is going to give him some good mass here in the center pocket. He's probably going to be using those guys to attack Depth Guard and things like that. And honestly, they have 44 melee attack. They can beat down Depth Guard pretty well, with their big old rocks. So the bows are going to be shooting in, and from now the Fellbats do attack. The first boulder comes in and just whacks this Morngul Haunter in the face, which is pretty good. And Depth Guard are going to be surging in and getting a nice little charge here on these guys. So the Haunter and the Crabs, everyone coming in. And like I said, it'll only be a matter of seconds before this frontline engagement, and these guys all collapse here. So yeah, you'll see that they're going to get terror-routed in just a matter of seconds. The Lamprey's Revenge is going to be charging in a little bit. I used the Song of Enthrallment here. I just wanted to kind of make these guys even weaker so I could just kill them faster. It doesn't lower their defensive prowess, but I was like, yeah, maybe it'll save me a little bit of damage here on my zombies and stuff. But maybe I should have saved it. Who knows? On the far side, I do use the Taunt because I wanted to be able to win at least one of these engagements. So I do use the Taunt for my Vampire Caster to help in that fight. And we do surge through the front line. So as expected, we're into the Goreherds and the big Vampire Coast Death Star is now pushing forward. Some of the Baconators have engaged as well, but they are countercharged here by the Lamprey's Revenge. And you can see the Bacon is just being beaten down horribly. Just brutal beat down of those guys. Fog of the Damned also dropped, which is going to lower melee attack with his big surrounding core and also cause leadership issues, which is quite helpful. So the initial impact is quite good in the center. We're able to break through, and the Summon Cygor is going to be disappearing in about 10 or 15 seconds. So that's quite, yeah, it's looking good for us. A lot of the stuff is broken. However, now comes the counterpunch. The Beastmen are going to be charging with Chaos Spawn, which I believe Morker summoned, and it looks like there's also going to be some Vestigors coming in, so I also dropped some Crabby Patties over there, and the Crabs are going to be quite essential, I think. No, those are the Damned Knight Errant. Those damned Knights Errant. They're going to be charging back here, trying to get the Ungor Raiders. A nice little cast for my opponent. Maybe not worth the Winds of Magic, but it does proc the Vigor. So the trait with that procs Vigor for your whole army, I think. So you can see a lot of his guys are fresh, despite the fact they've been fighting. So I think that's the reason why he's spamming those spells. We'll double check after this. I don't use that Lore of Magic often, so maybe we should look. Anyways, Bounce Bar is pretty even. He's a little bit ahead because of these summons, of course. The Chaos Spawn summon, I think, are they summoned? Yeah, those are summoned from Morker. I was going to say, you don't see them terribly often. Over here on this flank, we're definitely collapsing. The Goreherds and company are just chewing through my chaff. The Vampire Fleet Captain is holding. So we're going to be trying to escape with her back to the main fight. And we do summon some crabs here. So this is really just the big pit fight here. And the Koroks Manipers are getting worn down slowly but surely, but these guys are quite durable by Beastmen standards, and they're going to be holding quite firm. And Celestra is just kind of trying to do the atomic butt drop here on some of the Vestigor herds and other troops like that. And Lamprey's Revenge actually being surrounded. I mean, the Chaos Spawn are doing a good job, and even the Chaffy Spears are starting to wear these guys down, which was a little bit scary. So Invocation of Nehek will be going down here in a second. However, remember guys, Invocation of Nehek has been nerfed, so if I overcast it here, it's only going to heal 4 units. Now, it may heal the zombies. I'm not sure how it chooses the priority if you cast it in a big area like that. So at this point, I do get my Cav back here and am able to shut down one group of Raiders, and I'm like, all right, Celestra, maybe I go back here and get a quick terror out on these guys. Although it might have been a mistake to pull her out of the main pit fight, it's hard to say, because I really wanted to shut down those missiles because they were getting steady incremental value on a lot of my troops, and I did not like that. So the Beastmen are going to be surging back in. Fog of the Damned goes down once again, lowering leadership, trying to get them out of frenzy and just break them off. And the second group of Chaos Spawn are going to be wearing out in about 30 seconds. But the big Pim Slap coming in from the Morgul Haunter, who's actually dueling Morker and doing a very good job. I mean, his bonus for his infantry is quite substantial. The fact that he heals and Morker heals, I mean, it's a little bit of an attrition fight, but the Haunter is doing a very good job. Now, a great cast right there. It looks like a Vile Tide going down for my opponent. Going to be blasting zombies and my low-tier troops. And suddenly my wall is kind of getting a little bit narrow. Now, I do overcast an Invocation here, which really was a pretty limp cast. I mean, it just hits these guys here. Yeah, it hits these 4 in the front, so it didn't hit the Crab because of the nerf recently. Invocation got nerfed, and it only hit a couple troops, the maximum of 4. So I needed it on Lamprey's Revenge, my other group of Depth Guard. However, I get it on mostly zombies and one group of Depth Guard. These guys really needed it, so a bit of a misplay there. Maybe I should have made sure that it was only the Depth Guard getting it. Granted, in this situation, I couldn't really afford to. So down to the pit fight, the Depth Guard are just fighting to the bitter end. Lamprey's Revenge have a couple models left, but you can see these poor Crabby... Oh, this guy's about to get it. Is he? Oh, the Koroks Maniper. No, he takes it right in the neck. It looked like he was going to get decapitated by that guy, but man, he's just holding on firm. What a beast. So Celestra, I mean, I was back there for a while. I was like, I can't really break these Ungors. Like, I break one, they come back and run. It's not worth my time. So I bring Celestra back to the main fight. She should be able to get a terror out here on these Baconators, and you can see the Bounce Power actually ebbing into my opponent's favor as his magic use this entire game, and the fact that his entire army is, fresh. Wow, they're winded only, and tired. I mean, they're in pretty good shape considering. And my guys are mostly diminished, debilitated, and all this really negative stat line. So I'm pretty sure that's the trait from the Bray Shaman. Let's actually look here. I mean, I could check after the game, but we can just check over here. So it does give Vigor. Okay, so every time he casts, it gives 9% Vigor. I wonder if it adds Vigor back. I'm not quite sure how that mechanic works off the top of my head, but yeah, maybe if you just cast that, that's why his infantry are just kind of holding and not suffering the penalties of being tired. Good stuff. So really good cast there in the back. He is able to mulch my Depth Guard, and now it's just pretty much Big Crab Lady and Morgul Haunter and my Vampire Caster. So it's my elites versus Beastmen army, and he has a ton of Goreherds left, which was a little bit unfortunate. I mean, he doesn't have a ton of great tools to really kill Celestra quickly, but over the course of a grindy fight, and if he can get me to army losses, and at the very least tank her leadership, that's probably going to be enough. So at this point, I try and isolate the Bray Shaman. I get my Haunter, I get the Crab, I go back here, and we're going to be trying to just Crab Slap all over this guy right here, but quite elusive here. Sorry, I'm sure you hear Gooby. I think someone's at the front door. My dogs are going ham. Wookie, the Mauve Savagery himself, is guarding the realm. Celestra Direfin going to be re-engaging, popping that sweet Song of Enthrallment, which is going to be lowering melee attack. What I really need right now, the bounce power is pretty heavily in my opponent's favor, and his Ungors are just peppering down my fleet captain. I'm trying to strafe right here. I'm going back and forth, but he's getting some really good focus fire there, and it's going to be going down. So I'm without Invocation of Nehek, and at this point, it's looking very, very grim for my force. The Blackhorn's Ravagers are in relatively good shape. I mean, it's just a numbers game, and you can see the HP is going down very quickly, just it's just a bunch of little shanks, right? A bunch of tiny little fire ants just chewing on the 150 armor, but eventually it adds up, guys. And it's kind of cool because normally you would be like, oh, you need Minotaurs or Gorbals or large things to take this down, but his magic clearing out my chaff was really, really good, and the Goreherds just the Depth Guard really, he had Ganeshas against Depth Guard too. The double Vestigor herds, one of which was Koroks, was really good, and he had plenty of punch to get rid of those guys. So it was a very cool army for my opponent, and at this point it's pretty much going to be all she wrote. You can see that the Crab is going to be trying -20. She is able to break off the Bray Shaman, a brief glimmer of hope, as the Morgul Haunter does go back here and take out Morker the Shadowgate, but I just don't think it's going to be enough here. And you can see that Crab lady, good night. Good night, sweet crab princess, opera singer lady. And down she goes. And that's going to be it. So very well played to my opponent. It was a cool build for sure. And I've been running into that a lot lately. Like I said, a couple days ago, I had it used against me. I think, oh no, it was Aerocrastic I was playing against. And he used the Vigor, or that Lore of Magic, and he was really spamming spells. And it was like nuking my stuff, like killing my zombies. But more importantly, like none of his stuff was tired. And I think that made a pretty big deal, like over the course of a long game. So no, this build was great. It was wide. It would have been, what's cool about his build is it would have been good against a gunline too, and also good against large threats. It's like well-rounded and well thought out. So very well played to my opponent, the Undertaker, Lonely Knight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Vampire Coast versus Beastmen game, and perhaps stay tuned. I'll grab some folks and some high-level guys, and I'll play some games with my Coast against their Beastmen, and I'll experiment with some other builds and show you guys the way, as they say. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.